In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Now I am on page 225, the evidence available to the second language learner. Okay, but before that, if you actually look at page 225, line 3, actually you see that we will this line 4. Well, we see we have the same types of things for the second language that we have for the first language. On page line 2 says page 55, but it is mistake. You actually go to page 57, figure 2.5. You will see that there are 4 steps to, in fact, the power to stimulus argument for first language acquisition. We will have the same type of argument for first language acquisition there that we have now for the second language acquisition. So what is the difference? Instead of A, B, C, D, we say A bar, B bar, C bar, and D bar for the second language acquisition as it appears on page 225. Okay, so back to page 224, back to page 57, you see figure 2.45, which says steps in the poverty of stimulus argument for the first language acquisition. Well, there are 4 steps. Similarly, we have the same steps for the second language learner. Okay, so we have the same types of thing. Well, and for our new discussion on page 225, again you see we have the same types of, in fact, evidence available to the second language learner that we already talked about so many pages earlier about the evidence. So if you actually go to page 224 and the discussion 6.4.1.1, okay, we have imitation. Well, exactly, we have the same types of argument for, we had the same types of argument for first language acquisition. Now we are going to, in fact, copy and paste it here and say what happens here. We want to say the same types of arguments are available to the second language learner. Okay, so number 2 is on page 225 is, in addition to number 1, initiation, we have something like number 2, direct teaching through explanations. Okay, can we teach children the second language? Can we teach adults the second language by explaining? So that's why we say direct teaching and explanation. Okay, so this is number 2. Going to page 226, we see the direct teaching, corrections and approvals. So you directly teach the child the grammar of the second language. Okay, and if there are mistakes, you correct them. And when you don't have, in fact, mistakes, you approve of what they say. Okay, this is number 3. So number 1 is imitation. Number 2 is direct teaching. Number 2 is actually direct teaching through explanation. But the new one is through correction and approval. Okay, this is again the same type of thing. Again, number 4, we have social interaction. Again, for the second language acquisition, we have something similar like social interaction. We will simply say that after that I'm going to explain about these things. Okay, and again the same type of thing for dependence on other faculties. Well, we come to the conclusion that, well, let's say imitation, it does not work. Because we had the earlier discussions there for the first language, I'm not going to repeat the same type of arguments here. And again, for direct teaching, Well, we say direct teaching is good, but not so. Direct teaching is good, but it does not say everything. Okay, does not, in fact, improve the learners. Okay, and correction and approval, the same type of thing, and social interaction, the same types of things. So I'm going to, in fact, review everything like this, like this. So back to page 225, we say, line 1, for imitation, we say sheer imitation only provides positive evidence of what is heard. Okay, and line 3 says it is the decline of language teaching methods that rely on imitation, such as audiolingualism. Okay, only audiolingualism believed in imitation. Okay, when you go to other techniques, you see methods, approaches and methods, you will see that imitation does not work much. Okay, going to number 2, direct teaching. Well, through explanation. Well, line 1 says something like this: grammatical explanation does not figure prominently in the experience of L2 children. Okay, so they need more than that. Okay, line 3 talks about classroom here. Okay, are we going to the importance of classroom here? Okay, and through direct teaching. But line 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Line 4 says explanation is a cornerstone of the grammar translation method. Okay, still popular in many European country teaching settings, still sometimes available in Iran. Maybe it is available in Iraq as well, I don't know. But direct teaching through explanation dates back, and it is something like that dates back to the earlier stages. You are not going to follow that kind of thing. So direct teaching is not good, we simply say. The last line talks about task-based teaching. Well, again, task-based teaching is a kind of explanation and things like that, but still we don't actually say everything for the second language learning is like explaining the grammars. Okay, it's more than that. Well, going to the next page, we have direct teaching through, in fact, correction and approval. Again, we have problems here. Okay, for example, page 226 says something like this: is Newcastle the city that on the Thames? Okay, suppose some student says something like this: is Newcastle the city that on the Thames? Okay, well, Thames is in London, and maybe it is not in Newcastle. Okay, London is one city and Newcastle is another city. Okay, and Thames is the name of a river there. Okay, so suppose you say no, you must say, is Newcastle the city that is on the Thames? Okay, so you correct somebody. Do you think this works for the second language learner? Well, the point is that maybe it works with some, but actually a good majority of learning English does not require this type of correction. Only a small portion of it is required by that. Anyway, I don't want to talk about social interaction and, in fact, its potentiality for the fact that the second language learner is going to learn through these types of things. So I'm going to finish it. Well, actually, if you go to page 228, you see the same type of thing that appears on page 57. Repeat it here for the second language learner. On page 57, we had the same type of argument for language 1 on page 228. We are talking about language 2. So it is sure to copied pasted materials from page 57, pasted here on page 228, and after that you actually go and customize it. You change L1 to L2. This is something that you do. Okay, so you edit it for the second language learner. So 6.2 on page 228 is the same as 2.5 on page 57. What is the difference? We say page 57 only talks about the first language, but the one on page 228 talks about the second language. So this is the case, and there is one line only. After it, I'm going to, in fact, finish the discussion for this week on this line. Well, all in all, the last paragraph on page 228, before models and metaphors, 6.5, says something like this. All in all, the power to stimulus argument still applies to second language acquisition. No difference. That's it. Thank you very much. Goodbye.